I originally set out, I wanted to avoid what mystery writers sometimes call the Cabot Cove syndrome, where Jessica Fletcher lives in a town and the neighbor dies on Sunday, and next week someone else dies on Sunday, and 2 weeks later someone else dies on Sunday, and you wonder why anyone lives in Cabot Cove anymore. They might want to move. So I thought that if I created a tourist town on the Jersey Shore, all these people from the city would come there on their vacations. It would be a transient population, and I always found those tourist towns have a veneer of everything's wonderful and fine and happy, but there's always some darkness, especially like the locals don't like the tourists, and someone described it like there's always a shark out in the water. No matter how nice the beach is, there's always a shark waiting to get you. So my books take place in a fictional town called Sea Haven. I always have to say that because the real town's called Beach Haven. Sea Haven down the Jersey Shore, and it's just kind of a neat, a different place. I just wanted to do something a little different.
Highly unusual that both Teresa and Chris write in the present tense, and that's something a lot of authors are down on, a lot of critics are down on, but yet it gives an immediacy to your book. So Chris, why did you make that decision?
Okay, there's another confession. That's because I read the instructions wrong. When I decided I wanted to write a mystery book, the Mystery Writers of America has this great book that Sue Grafton edited called How to Write a Mystery, and a lot of different essays. And one of them in there talked about the fair play mystery, which is written in the first person, so you, the reader, are right over the sleuth's shoulders and you get the clues at the same time. And for some reason I thought it said first person present tense. So I said, all right, off I go. And I start writing it in the present tense, and then when my first book came out, I got these emails like, I never read anything in the present tense, but I made the exception for you. So it's an odd way to write, because no one would really be, the bullet whizzed by my ear. You know, you don't really, while a bullet is whizzing by your ear, you don't jot it down. But it does add to a sense of breathless pace, and the books become, I think, page turners and put you right in the action. And there are people who tell stories that way. You go into a bar, here's what happened. This guy walks in, so you start talking in present tense like that. So if there's any present tense haters here, don't come see me later. But I worked in advertising for almost 20 years, and Peter has too. So my first boss in advertising was James Patterson. I knew him back when he was writing Burger King commercials, and then he would get up into work about 6 o'clock in the morning and work on his books, and then he would start looking at our commercials about 10 o'clock in the morning. And another one of my bosses, Ted Bell, he writes books now. He just did Nick of Time for kids, and he does something called Spy. And I've heard other people saying the same thing for journalists. In journalism and in advertising, there is no such thing as writer's block. There's only unemployment. You cannot go into your boss and say, I'm sorry, the muse just wasn't with me on Rolaids this morning. I don't care if it consumes 47 times its weight in excess stomach acid, it's just not moving me. You can't do that for long. And when my first publisher, Carolyn Graff, with St. Martin's now, but the first publisher said to me, I like you advertising guys, you don't waste our time. You get right to the story and you hold us, because we get so used to writing. A 30-second commercial, if you talk wall to wall, has 70 words in it, and that's not many words at all to get someone's attention, tell them something, and make a sale. So I guess there's like an efficiency and also a discipline. Okay, I just turned in my books for 2009. There'll be another John Seapack mystery next year. Somebody clapped. Or you think I was going to be late with it this year? That one's going to be called Mind Scrambler, where my Dudley Do-Right of a cop is going to go to Atlantic City. I thought that would be fun. And then I also turned in my second middle grades book, which is going to be called The Hanging Hill. It's all about a haunted theater. And my nephew has read the advanced copy of it, so if you want to know what happens, he can tell you. And I'm just finishing working on a second middle grades idea that hasn't passed the test. Whether it's any good to go out of the building yet, I don't know. I'm just finishing it, so that's what's going on. I'm the proud, I get $50 a year in residuals for my first movie that I wrote called The Christmas Gift, starring John Denver, which is so bad that it's written so poorly because it was rewritten by a Hollywood guy. And so my partner and I wrote it. We get checks for like $25 every year. But there's a line in the movie, Susan, being the postmistress in this town as you are, perhaps you know someone who can show us around. So we don't claim writing credits on that one too much. You can skip it when it's on TBS. But the question you sort of asked was about the obligation to deal with social issues. And one of the reasons I particularly like writing mysteries is it does give you a chance to do that. I think some of the best social commentary in the world can be found in the structure of these mysteries. If you look at the Dave Robichaux mysteries out of New Orleans, he was writing about, James Lee Burke was writing about what was going on in New Orleans long before we all saw the TV screens on Katrina and said, oh, you know, it's horrible down there. There's the separation between the classes and stuff. And so it's almost in a Dickensian way. You know, Dickens used great stories to raise issues, and I think everybody up here whose books I've read does that. And I always try to do it. Sometimes I get in trouble for it, but it's kind of what makes it fun.
Isn't Sea Haven a copyright? It was used in a movie called The Truman Show.
My nephew is asking me if I'm going to be going to jail for infringing on copyrights by using the name Sea Haven. I don't think it's copyrighted. And in fact, you can check it. You might want to go ahead and Google that right now. And a good thing that your grandfather's a lawyer and your mom's a lawyer. Got some lawyers in the family. Get me out of it. Actually, though, I did get really afraid because Tilt-A-Whirl, the name of my first book, is a copyrighted name. And I kept writing to the Sellner Manufacturing Company. I think they're here in Michigan, Chicago, somewhere around here. And they never wrote back. And I asked my brother, who's a lawyer, and he said that the Supreme Court is always sort of lined up on the side of writers. At least the old Supreme Court did. So please, the election now means more to me than ever as I think about it right now. So let's keep me out of jail.